This is The Caretaker, and you are listening to The Graveyard Show.
Welcome to the Graveyard.
And welcome to another edition of the Graveyard Show podcast. I am your caretaker, and the graveyard is open. Well, I was inspired right now. I literally just got back from the movie theater about 25 minutes ago. I just saw the movie Longlegs at long last. And wow. I'm going to get into that film in just a little bit. It will be spoiler-free, so don't worry. If you've not seen the film Longlegs, do not worry. I'm not going to give anything away. I will talk very loosely about it and not tell you anything. I do not want to ruin the movie-going experience that I had for you, so do not worry, okay? I will talk about that in just a little bit. I'm also going to have some news and notes, but I want to start off with, well, what I originally was going to start off this latest podcast with. Not that long ago, I had a friend over here to my graveyard, a fellow caretaker, and we were having a caretaker's movie night here inside my graveyard, and we were trying to figure out what to watch, and we were going through some ideas and flipping around, and finally I fired up the old Netflix app and was looking around, and I'm flipping through movies, and I come across Godzilla Minus One. Godzilla Minus One is on Netflix. I had no idea. I didn't read about it. I didn't hear about it. I had no idea that Godzilla Minus One was going to be on Netflix, and sure enough, there it was, looking right at us. And I'd already seen it. I hadn't seen it since it was out in a movie theater. And I turned to my friend who had not seen it, and I said, "We're watching this movie." And he's like, "Great." He's a fan of Godzilla movies, and it was a very easy decision. And I fired it up, and we watched it. And when the movie was over, he turned to me and he was like, "Man, I was really getting emotional by the end of that film." And I was like, "Yep, it's that good." So I have converted another friend over to Godzilla Minus One. I highly recommend that film. If you have not seen it, please do so, especially if you have Netflix. Check it out. It's a great movie, and I think it might be my favorite movie of 2023. I kind of have a toss-up between that and When Evil Lurks, although to me, I kind of give Godzilla the top nod. It's such a great film, and you do not need to be a Godzilla fan to see this movie. It's very different than any other Godzilla movie. It's not, actors dressed up in Godzilla suits fighting each other. There's an amazing story being told in this movie. There's some iconic moments that are in it, and again, you don't have to be a fan of this movie. I tell people to go see it, and they kind of laugh at me. I'm like, no, man, this is not a kid's movie. This is a very adult film. Godzilla, I think, is in 20 to 25 minutes, maybe total. And when he's in it, he's amazing. And when he's not in it, the film is amazing. So check out Godzilla Minus One on Netflix. Okay, let's get things going with some news and notes. And 1990s horror is going to lead me off here on the latest news. These are from Deadline.com. I Know What You Did Last Summer reboot. Director on new film ignoring sequel. Definitely not. Jennifer Caton Robinson, the director, taking on the I Know What You Did Last Summer reboot, clarifies rumors that the new film would ignore the saga's sequel, I Still Know What You Did Last Summer. It is definitely not. I Still Know What You Did Last Summer is canon. Hope this helps, Robinson shared on X. Sources recently told Deadline that Sony Pictures is in talks with Jennifer Love Hewitt and Freddie Prinze Jr. to reprise their roles in the new reboot, which is expected to open July 18th of 2025. Let's see what happens. Nev Campbell says Scream 7 will focus on Sidney Prescott. It's the reason that I jumped on board. The Scream franchise is going back to its roots with Scream 7. And that is how they were able to secure Nev Campbell's return. Campbell's Sidney will face easy for me to say, will face Ghostface again in the 7th installment of the slasher saga. We're going to follow Sydney, Campbell told Entertainment Tonight. They did pitch the concept to me, and it's the reason that I jumped on board. The Party of Five alum said that she had not received the final script for the new film, but was hoping to receive it soon. Quote, I love these movies. They are so much fun to be a part of. I'm so grateful for them. I could never have imagined being a part of a movie that would have lasted this many decades, unquote. Scream 7 is set to be directed by Kevin Williamson, the screenwriter for the original Scream, and its 1997 sequel, Scream 2. Williamson returned to write the script for Scream 4 and was credited as producer for Scream 3. All right, Longlegs. Well, as of July 28th, the film Longlegs has officially become Neon's top-grossing film ever. And as of this recording, it's just over $68 million. It sits right now at number 20 for the year, according to Box Office Mojo. It's ahead of Furiosa, Mad Max Saga. It is just behind Civil War. It should pass it probably by the weekend. And then next up would be Mean Girls, which is at $72,400,000 plus. So it could move up a couple of spots. And then I really don't see it moving past any other movies for this year. But, I mean, what an amazing run that this movie has had. And as I mentioned at the top of the show, I just got back from seeing the film, and it's just, I was really blown away by it. Now, I was kind of surprised. I looked up some information on IMDb, and it's not getting very good reviews from some moviegoers. So I was a little surprised because I thought it was actually going to get a little bit better reviews, at least on IMDb. But now I have to go to Rotten Tomatoes to get an idea of what the general public is thinking about it. Because if there's one thing we know, Rotten Tomatoes, well, they certainly have two very different scores a lot of movies have between what the critics have given it and what audience members have given some movies on Rotten Tomatoes. So I'm checking right now, and Longlegs sits at 86% tomato meter from the critics, 60%, yeah, very interesting, from 60% from the audience score. So that's very interesting. I love the film. And and again, this is going to be spoiler free, so you don't have to worry. If I had to describe the movie, I think the best way I could describe it is take elements of Seven, elements of Silence of the Lambs, mix it together, and then have it directed by Stanley Kubrick. And it really, it's not giving anything away because it's really like a disturbing film. Now, you may or may not know who plays Longlegs in the movie, and I'm not going to say who it is. The credits are in the beginning of the film or close to the beginning of the film, so you'll know who it is. But, you know, I'd rather you be surprised when you see the name pop up. But, yes, the actor who plays Longlegs, well, yeah, it's quite memorable. Now, it's a very disturbing movie. It's about an FBI agent who is trying to uncover these murders that have been happening. And again, I'm not going to get into what and why and all this other stuff. But our lead is Micah Monroe. Of course, we all know from It Follows and Watcher, among many other projects. I'm really happy for her because I feel like this is really going to catapult her into the mainstream. She's so well, she just does such an amazing job in this film. She really plays a very controlled character in the movie, and it's just so well done. She really did such a great job with it. And it's Blair Underwood is great in it as well. Oz Perkins directed the film, and it's got some really great elements. The one thing too that really kind of stood out for me was Andres Arochi. I hope I'm pronouncing that correctly. Who is the director of photography on the film? There are some great sequences in this film that just the look of it. Low lighting where you have very minimal light sources, and it really looks that way. There's a scene where, and again, not giving anything away, there's a scene where some characters are going through a pitch black house with just flashlights, and it looks like it would if you were there for real. Now, I'm sure a lot of it's the way it was shot. Also, you have what was done in post, so I don't want to discredit their work. So, again, great job on their end as well. But it just looks fantastic. The light sources, it kind of reminds me of what you would see in a photograph. And it really helps kind of punch these sequences in the movie that just really, when you're watching it, you're like, wow, it really has a great look to it. The score is very unsettling, and the movie itself, I think, really delivers. And it's good to see a horror film get some sort of mainstream love. It's out there. It's as I said, it's Neon's highest-grossing film to date. Well done to them producing this movie, and it's nice to see on a weekday at 8 o'clock in a very small theater that there were probably about 25 to 30 people there, and that says something since it's been out 4 weeks now. And it means word of mouth is definitely out there, and it's just so well done. The film, I think, is going to be something that we're going to remember for a long time, and it just makes me feel really happy as a fan of horror. I was very fortunate to live through the 80s, the late 70s into the 80s during the video revolution, where you sure had your fair share of sequels back in those days, whether it was in mainstream movies or horror movies, but there was a lot of original content, and I felt like we really lost that in the mid to late 2000s, where we were seeing just tons of reboots and remakes and the same stuff just being recycled. When I first did this podcast in 2009, a lot of the news, back when I used to do news on my weekly podcast then, it was always about either a sequel or a reboot. And it just was getting old, and it felt like horror fans were kind of done with a lot of it, especially since a lot of them were so bad. Now we've gone through this resurgence now where I feel like we're kind of revisiting the 80s and the 90s, where we're seeing sequels. Yes, Saw 10 is coming out, but we're also seeing Longlegs and Smile and When Evil Lurks and Godzilla Minus One. I know it's a sequel, but it's like I said, very different type of sequel or a reboot. But we're getting these new movies that are really kind of standing out in this new day and age. Don't Breathe, and you can match that up with Evil Dead Rise, which was an amazing sequel or part of a franchise, I guess you would say. And it's just so refreshing to see us in this new age of horror that really is really starting to get out there. Late Night with the Devil, and it's a good time to be a horror fan because there's just so much new stuff coming out. There's a lot more creativity happening, and films like Longlegs are really, I think, helping to really kind of solidify that. Barbarian's another one that just came to mind, and all the A24 stuff, Hereditary, and Witch, and all those films. It's late and I'm a little tired, so some of these movies are starting to escape me. But you know what I'm saying, is some great new horror out there. It's a fun time to be a fan of horror. And I like I said, after seeing Longlegs, I felt compelled to get on and record this podcast right now because I didn't want to lose this energy or whatever energy I have left. Well, I'd love to hear your thoughts as well. Please, if you're listening to this online and you want to leave comments, please leave comments in the section below. And if you're listening to us as a podcast and you want to email me your thoughts, you can do so at gyspodcast@gmail.com, gyspodcast@gmail.com. Now, also speaking about online video content, of course, on YouTube and other video streaming sites, you can find the Graveyard Show podcast, where you can also find with the Graveyard Show podcast is Catacombs of Horror. And I've been on a roll lately. I've done 2 Catacombs of Horror almost back-to-back weeks. The last 2 I did was Analyzing Night of the Living Dead. I took pieces of an interview that I did with author Kim Paffenroth, who wrote the book Gospel of the Living Dead, George Romero's Vision of Hell on Earth. And I took pieces of that interview that were related to Night of the Living Dead and matched them up to sequences in the film. Take a look at that, check it out. And then not too long after that, I released The Art of the TV Spot. And that's all about some TV commercials that I go through and discuss. Some effective horror commercials, and also the differences between some of the horror commercials that I show. I show the film's Magic, Alien, The Shining, Dracula Has Risen from the Grave, Mortuary, Night of the Zombies, and Exorcist, and The Evil Dead. So I did 8. So those are 8 right there. So I show those TV spots and then discuss why they were effective and how they're all different in their own way as well. So check that out. Again, you can find the Graveyard Show podcast on YouTube and other video streaming sites. Just look up Graveyard Show podcast and you'll find all of these shows, the Graveyard Show Classics, Caretaker Reveals, and Catacombs of Horror, among many other productions that I put together for your listening and viewing pleasure. All right, that's going to do it for me. Short podcast, but hopefully one that you enjoyed. And I look forward to seeing you again very soon. And as you exit the graveyard, I would like to remind you to please lock the gate behind you. We wouldn't want anyone to get out. Until next time.